AdLib is the DSP-agnostic buying platform to scale your programmatic campaigns smarter, faster, and more profitably. AdLib helps independent agencies and marketers deliver premium programmatic performance without the complexity, cost, or overhead of traditional DSPs. Their platform provides the tools, data, and automation to run enterprise-quality campaigns, from CTV and audio to geofencing and YouTube, all under one roof with zero trafficking headaches. Plus, they're not just a platform, they're your growth partner. The AdLib team helps you win new business, expand budgets, and deliver measurable ROI that keeps clients coming back. It's time to unlock programmatic. Join leading marketers worldwide who are using AdLib to deliver more campaigns with better results. Check out getadlib.com.
Welcome to Open Market, a podcast about building companies in the advertising industry. I'm Joe Zappa. I'm joined by Franchi and our latest illustrious guest from the Twitter sphere, Cody Schneider, the CEO of GoGraph. How's it going, Cody?
I'm good, man. How you doing? Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Hey, Cody, for those unfamiliar with you and your business, what do you do and who are you, by the way?
Yeah, quick high-level background. Started in e-com, ended up working at a B2B marketing agency where my boss there had gone to Y Combinator, started a company, had exited it. Basically brainwashed me to think about how to approach B2B SaaS and how to sell it. Ended up at a startup called Rupa Health, joined as like employee 9 or 10, helped take that from a $20 million valuation to a $110 million valuation in about 6 months. Met my co-founder, Max, there. We've been building AI slot products for the last 3 years. Had the epiphany that everybody was going to be able to do this, understanding the underlying data when you can make 1,000 Facebook ads and like what's actually working is going to be the hardest part. Found that like 50% of companies were not a data warehouse native already. And now building Graph, it's an AI data analyst for growth teams, connects to all of your data sources, unifies it all into a single place. We manage the data pipeline, the data warehouse, build the underlying ontology layer so the agent can actually go and interact with the data and you can trust it. Recently released an MCP so you can bring that into Claude Code and build agents on top of it. It's a live data source that you can basically have it do functions on. And then also released a Slack integration as well. So you can just like at Graph in your chat and staff account, it's like a coworker. It's the craziest thing. Like we were in a product conversation the other day and needed some data, pulls it in, conversation continues on. We ask it like what we should be doing based on this, and it gives its own like perspective and feedback. So yeah, that's kind of the high level. Happy to answer any questions about that.
That's it?
And he has illustrious hair, just beautiful locks. So
I got a haircut and I don't know. They messed my shit up. So
AI data analyst for go-to-market teams. That's exactly the kind of area where we wanted to start. Specifically, you recently went viral on X. You unleashed a bunch of AI agents on your own go-to-market efforts, including booking you on this very podcast. And it was a bigger success than you anticipated. So tell us about what you did and what the result was.
Yeah, so high level, I think this is the most slept on thing in the world, actually, is just like agents that can email for you. Like so much business and work just happens via email. And so what we did is I'm in a PR sprint right now. We raised our pre-seed round in October and basically heads down on product for the last 3 months. I'm coming up for air and we're now going into a growth cycle. I needed to get booked on podcasts. So I'm like, cool, let's like take my normal process that I would do and let me see if I can get an agent to do this. So normal process is I go to Raphonic. I find all of the shows that are, in the category that I'm in. Raphonic is a database of shows and the contact information of individuals. I would scrape that out. I would then validate those emails with something like Million Verifier. I'd put that into Instantly, and then I would pitch myself to come on the shows and then manage that. So this time I was like, cool, let's just take that whole process. We're just going to connect all of the APIs. I'm going to put it into Instantly, and then I'm going to connect an agent in Instantly that is just like trying to basically schedule a discovery call. So did a cohort of 2,000. Expected maybe we got a handful. I just needed data to basically make the agent better. We got 112 like positive responses. It dropped the ball on 90 of them. It scheduled 35 of them. I showed up like after I basically went offline for the weekend, showed up, Sunday night, and my calendar was just like booked solid. And I was like, oh God.
I can confirm, Cody showed me his calendar and it was horrifying. It was literally like
crazy.
Backs to backs for like an entire week, like 10 hours a day.
Totally. And it was like, I mean, again, this was a test. It did terrible. Like the agent, I actually had like some of the mistakes that I made as an example, it responded back instantly. So people were like, this is a bot, right? And then we also like, it agreed to buy 2 books of a host. So this host had written 2 books. He convinced the agent, like, if I wanted
That's
to buy
really funny.
the books,
That's
and he's like,
really
yeah, we'll
funny.
buy the books. I was like, all right. So we bought the books because I thought it was hilarious. And then we like had people like viscerally mad. They're like, your system is like, it's terrible. Like I got on the call, like they're still on the call, which is hilarious. I'm like, hey, this was a test. I'm super sorry for the poor experience. Like, I just needed data. Like, I apologize. Classic, like, acknowledge, align, assure to like,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. If I was in your shoes, I'd be super frustrated as well. Don't worry. This will get better as time goes on. Here's what actually happened. And then they're like, oh, this was like, just the first version of this and it worked. This was this kind of like very eye-opening thing for me on the PR side. Now I'm like, okay, well, what is the boundary of PR that I can do with just like agents roaming the web and like pitching people?
It's so interesting, right? Because I think this is the exact tension in using AI for go-to-market efforts. And this is where so many people, and especially larger companies, will get stuck and they will never start because they're afraid of that tension, right? Which is, if you're automating things like outreach to podcasters, it is going to be a little messy, especially up front, right? And I said the same thing to you. So I got your email. I had name recognition for you because I had like seen posts of yours on X. And so I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I know this is a real guy. He's relevant. So I responded, and then it like responded immediately. And like, I was like, okay. I'm fast too, but like 12 seconds is like really.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I could tell it was a bot. And so then I was like, I was fine with that because I was like, okay, he's literally talking about coming on the pod to talk about AI for go-to-market. So if he's using AI for go-to-market, I don't think I could be like that mad about that. But there is like, this is the precise question, is like, how do you navigate that tension of like, what are you okay with giving up from like a brand perspective and possibly like annoying some people for the sake of efficiency? And I would say, like, it's a positive EV move if you're going to actually get on dozens of podcasts that are relevant to your business. And like, some podcasters who are uptight are going to be annoyed, but everyone has to make that calculation. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same. Like, all I'm doing is what a human process would look like, right? Like, I've done this. I've hired PR.
Mm-hmm.
They'd like go and they run this process. And like, some of the people we reach out to, they're just like, he's a terrible fit on our show. Like, why are you even talking to us? Like that, the research was just wrong or the human messed up. I think the thing that like from this process that I learned really quickly is like the iteration process of this is so fast. Like, this is just code, right? That lives in a GitHub repo that I'm like, cool. Like, all of those changes are now already shipped. They shipped within 24 hours as I got the feedback loop that was happening. So it's like, yeah, those mistakes can happen, but you have to think about this now as this like malleable thing that can like progress and live on in perpetuity. It's funny. We've been saying this internally, and I've just been saying it everywhere now. It's like, friends don't let friends do end-to-end, right? Like, you just go straight to code now because it's so much more malleable than all these other workflow tools. Like, if I want to make updates or changes based off of like feedback that I'm getting from the real market in real time, I have Claude Code in the background right now, and it's working on stuff. It can just be doing that for me, right? And it's interacting, like, rewrites the system prompt. It sets up different tools that it has access to. Now that's deployed and it's living on a Railway server, and that agent's now just living in perpetuity. And I think this is how like more and more work is going to happen. Like, people are going to have personal software that they've created that's like their agents and also their workflows and like their way of thinking. Like, I have these markdown files that are just for me on like, how do I write? Right? Here's examples. Here's like the examples of the best content from a reach standpoint. Like, Claude Code is unbelievable now at writing in my tone and in my style for the specific channels. Like, LinkedIn is way different than how I write on Twitter, right? Like, you have to like match the audience that's there. Like, how I see companies adopting this, and like I'm seeing friends do this as well, right? Like, I just had a friend like leave a startup. He went to another and he like negotiated an insanely higher salary than what he was at previously. Because he's like, hey, I'm bringing my whole stack with me. Like, he's a GTM engineer. But he's like, you're hiring not just me, you're hiring the 20 agents I have behind me and all this personal software that I've written. And I'm going to day one it airdrop into your Salesforce, and we're going to make impact day one, right? And when you think about that and like comparison to like what was, the previous kind of constraints, it's almost hard to even like, and we're finding this internally, like we're having to adopt, we call it a token abundance mindset. Like, you have to like almost unshackle yourself of like what's possible now, because you can almost do anything. And so then it's like, okay, what should I be doing? And this is both on the product side and on the growth and like, the go-to-market side. It's becoming this like very I don't really have words to describe it. Like I'm not sleeping. I'm just like, it's the most interesting time I've ever seen to build both product and like do distribution, because you just have so much, like the cost of intelligence is basically going to zero, right? You have a flagship model release, and then like 3 months later, you have an open source version of that drop that where if you turn the temperature all the way down, like, so this just happened, right? So like Opus 4.6 drops, Minimax 2.5 gets released 3 months later. You turn the temperature all the way down on Minimax, and it's like, who are you? And it's like, I'm Claude Opus 4.6. Because they just trained off of the derivative data. They created like 24,000 accounts that was like hitting Claude Opus, right? And so the Minimax, though, is 1/20th the cost of Claude Opus. So you're basically saying, okay, I'm going to have flagship models, and then I'm going to have a fast follow in 90 days with like the cost of that like being, 1/20th of what it is, but it's at the same intelligence level. Like that's happened 3 cycles now. If that just continues, that means that this is just going to continue to get like cheaper and cheaper to do like really hard things. And we're just like at the tipping point now where it's like it can actually do this work. So like what happens in 12 months from now? And so anyways, these are the things that we're thinking about, we're trying to adjust to. And also, how do you build product in that? Like if agents are making the decisions, like my friend is building this email like right now, right? Where it's like an agent can go and sign up to create its own email account so that it can go and do work. And it's basically for like Claude Code, right? Because like how do you get it? How do you make it so an agent can like find you, can pick you, can sign up for you, can pay for you, and then can incorporate it into its stack that it's making a decision on for the person, like for whatever the outcome is that they're trying to do.
So your friend getting the job is a super interesting example, because I think it's essentially the much less discussed micro version of those like $1 billion acqui-hires or $100 million acqui-hires that everyone's talking about, right? Like everyone's talking about Meta and OpenAI going and hiring people and paying like what would previously have been like absolutely absurd sums for them, because they're not just getting the person, they're getting their technology, and they've leveraged themselves so effectively using AI. What you're describing is like the everyman's version of that, right? Where it's like, maybe you're not going to go get $100 million, but it's like you could get a much, much more attractive comp package because you can argue like I'm leveraged on day one and I'm going to create this huge impact. Eric, I think you had a follow-on thought about that before we, whatever. Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. What's the recommended stack for people just starting out with a GTM focus from your perspective? Because you're throwing out names and apps that I've never heard of.
2 thoughts to tie these together. This is the most desired role that exists in the world right now, is like finding good GTM engineers. Like I get messaged daily, like probably 10 to 20 messages, like, how do I hire somebody that does this work? Okay, so just if you're listening to this, like, and you're like, I don't know how I survive in this new AI economy, this is the path. To answer your question directly, Eric, like it's actually way easier than people think to do this. You literally make a directory on your machine locally, and all that is just a folder, right? So if you're on a Mac, you go to Documents and you make a new folder, and it's like literally I live out of a folder. It's called Graft Growth Agents, and everything I do happens within that folder. It's just like this, like basically a code repo of everything. And then all you have to do is you create what's called an environment file, and you can literally ask Claude Code, like, I'd make this folder, I open that folder within my terminal, within Claude Code, or even on the Claude like local app. I can show you guys literally how to do this too if you screen share. I don't know how the show works, but and then you say make an environment file. You add all of your API keys for your entire stack of your business into that environment file. That's it. And then you're like, Claude, I'm trying to do this. Make a plan that helps me do this. Ask me questions, interrogate me to like get more context. And this is the thing that I think people like the aha moment that they have. Like the chat previously was like this, like I kind of have, it doesn't really do work, right? It's like, it kind of is this assistant. The change that's happening, like literally this is in the last 6 weeks. Everything I'm talking about is like the last 6 weeks, something has just evolved, it's changed. But what is happening right now is like, I can get it to go do work for me, like real work. Like to give you an example, like we're doing a product feature release. We have an internal conversation of like the whole scope of the product feature. We take that transcript out of the Notion document. I'm in Claude Code. It has access to my Notion. I'm like, hey, here's the URL. Pull out that transcript. Can you write an email based off of this? I want it to be the cross section of educational and also like, cast a vision of what their future could be. Right, like your persona is a top 1% direct response marketer. We want to try to get them back into the product so that they can come and test out this new feature. It writes that email based off of the transcript conversation. I'm then like, cool, put that as a draft into SendGrid. It does that through the SendGrid API. I'm like, give me the URL of the draft so I can go proof it. Actually, first send me a test email to my email so I can see what it looks like. sends it to my email via the SendGrid API, hits my inbox in Google. I see what it actually looks like, and I'm like, all right, cool, send that email. And I could not even touch SendGrid, the UI, and to have that whole thing just like occur for me, right? And that is like work that needed to get done. That's just a small scale. The thing that like, this is where I've been spending like the last 2 weeks is, okay, like when you look at running Facebook ads or Google ads, right? It's like, I run ads, I look at what's working, I turn off the losers, I promote the winners to more budget, and then the winners, I like remix those over and over again with new creative. That whole thing is just a process, right? So like how I did this, I built a bulk Facebook ad generator. It goes and researches all the pain points of my target customers. Like for example, like it goes and scrapes Reddit and Twitter for like, how are people talking about what they hate about Looker Studio, right? We pull out that exact language. That gets turned into ads. You can use Nano Banana for this. We built like how I built this was like a template that's on brand, and all we're changing is the title and paragraph variations, but below it's like a before and after like image, right? It's just a React component. Like it's just code. So I can do like 1,000 Facebook ad variations off of this, and it costs me like $0. It's just like, you know, it's Claude code basically making those changes within those ad images. Those ads get made. I then use the Facebook ads API to upload those into Facebook ads. I wait, you know, whatever my cycle is, we'll say a week. I then use the graphed MCP and I'm like, okay, what are the losers? What are the winners within this, right? It shows me the data. And then I'm like, okay, go turn off all the losers, promote all the winners to their own ad set. I want you to change it to a conversion campaign as well. So it's focused on signups rather than clicks, because like I use clicks for testing. And then from those winners, what are the common threads between all of them? All right, cool. Let's go do another round of new creative generation. And that whole thing just happened from Claude Code. And then immediately you do that process. Like you do that manual hands-on keyboard as like the person. And like, I'm not even touching keyboard anymore. I just like transcribe what I want it to do and how to go work, right? I use an app called Super Whisper. Shout out Neil. He's the man. But the thing with it is that you do that a couple times and you're like, why isn't this just an agent? Right? And like, I'm a week away from like this being an agent that's just running our Facebook ads entirely on that stack that I just talked about, built on the backbone of Graph and the live data feed that's coming from it. And the reason that you have to do this data pipeline, data warehouse thing, and this is the funny thing, like I see all these companies right now that are like, just like, I mean, it's like gnomes, you know, hopping up out of holes in the ground of paid ads managers that are Facebook ads or Google ads. And they're like, we plug in and we handle all of it. You literally can't do this with the APIs because you run into rate limits. If you're using an MCP to interact with the APIs, you run into pagination truncation. And then if the data is big enough, you just literally like, if you just try to stuff all the data into context, you run into like context bloat. And so you have to solve the data pipeline, data warehouse problem. To give you an example, we have a client, like they spend like 180 grand a month on Facebook ads alone, right? If they were just trying to interact with the API, they could maybe get like 2 hours of data, right? But if they're like, hey, show them, you know, analyze the data from the last 2 weeks, right? What's going to happen is Claude is just going to hallucinate based off of what it can pull and the errors that it's hitting. You're not even going to know that's going to that's happening. And so then now your agent is making decisions based off of this incorrect information. This is our whole thesis. This is like why we're building this company, because we try to do this. We try to go immediately to this because we saw the writing on the wall. Like GTM is going to be automated.
Cody, do you think that the value of this playbook is greater for larger companies with like lots and lots of leads? Because I think about a business like mine, you know, which I'll use myself as a guinea pig, like, you know, small niche agency, right? So it's like, I'm going to do, let's say 20 to 30 deals a year. They're all people, either I know them or they're like one person removed. And it's super like high touch, delicate. You're dealing with CEOs. It's like a lot harder to automate. I'm sure you would argue you could. And I'd be curious, like what parts for a company like that you would like go out and start automating. Whereas if you're dealing with like, I don't know, HubSpot, right? And you're trying to reach like literally like hundreds of thousands or millions of like small business owners or like marketing managers at corporations, that's like a no-brainer to automate this. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So like, I think it's a great example of how I would like we can talk about both of these. So for like a business like yours, like I guarantee there's things that you're doing regularly, like on a daily basis or a weekly cadence or a monthly cadence, or that's the same process that you're running with CEO. Like you get the same questions that are happening.
Yep.
The best way to like look at this is like, okay, audit the work that I'm doing daily, and then be like, okay, what are the things that are repeating? Claude work with me to how can we like make this more efficient? And this is like something that I think, again, is just another aha moment that people have. Once they realize, okay, I can get it to go do work. Now, how do I teach it? And you can work and like co-work with Claude Code, get to an output that you like. And then at that point, you're like, hey, I want you to save this so that we can use this for a future, like when this comes around again, right? So I did this for my whole LinkedIn strategy is basically like, we make these Notion documents that are tutorials how to use like how to do GTM engineering. I did a back and forth like with Claude to build the first one. I'm like, cool, I want to say this is a skill. So that in the future, when I tell you like, here's the post, go write up this Notion document that's explaining this. It now has that, right? But this could be done for anything. It could be done for follow-up emails. It could be done for anything that you can imagine on the work side. Now, scaling that up to a large organization, I think it gets crazier when you get to that level because like one person with an API key can now just do things that are insane, right? Where it's like, cool, I want you to go and enrich every lead that's happened in the last 30 days using the Lead Magic API, using the Apollo API, using the Sales QL API, find their phone numbers, who they are, the posts that they've, talked to, what are the previous companies that were like, that whole thing that used to be like hours of individual like contributors' work is now one person can go and just do that, right?
What do you mean exactly? So
sorry, like lead enrichment of like the CRM.
What would that look like?
Yeah. So that's where I'm like finding basically all the all the context around that lead, right? So it's like, okay, say you got 1,500 leads in the last, 30 days. And you're like, we need like it traditionally like an SDR or like an AE would go and they would basically research about each of those individuals. They put that into the CRM and then that would be used to like understand, okay, like of the leads that went through the pipeline, what is the shape of the person that's most likely to make a purchase that from a highest revenue number? SDRs and AEs hate doing this. If you ask them, they're like, I don't want to do lead enrichment. That doesn't make me money. I'm not incentivized to do that, right? It's like a deleterious process. In contrast, now it's like, that can just be an agent. That's like, as soon as a lead hits your account, boom, like 30 minutes later, it just did deep research on this person. It has all the context that you could ever imagine. What is the org structure at the company that they're at? How do they fit within that org structure? How can you, create a plan for like, how do we sell into that org structure based off of this lead that we're talking to? Like, what do they need to get buy-in from their decision maker that they're reporting to? All of that can now, again, it's like one person, like in a terminal, and it's just like connecting all of those pieces together. And I think for companies, like if you're like trying to deploy this and trying to actually get this out, what this ends up being, and the best way I've seen it done, there's kind of three ways to do it. It's like you have to create some type of incentive structure, right? It's like one incentive type is like you give them time off, right? Or like some type of like holiday. I want to do that one. The other one I've seen is like monetary, where they either like you have a token limit that you have to hit per month, or you have a like you give them some type of bonus or whatever if they do this type of work, like they adopt AI into the company. I've seen both of those have their biggest problems. The token one is hilarious to me. I have a friend, he works at a huge startup, late stage startup company, right? He has a token limit that he has to hit on a monthly basis. He's like, Cody, I got coffee with him the other day. He's like, Cody, I separate CSV files, the columns, and then I put them back together, and that hits my token limit. And he's like, why would I implement this, right? He's like, I don't even know what's even possible with it. They're just forcing us into like, you have to do this, right? And then the best way I've seen the adoption happen is you go and you basically be like, crash course, here's how to use this tool. Like, you now have access to this. Let people go and like just do the work with it. And then what's naturally going to happen is like, Trevor is going to rise up out of the ashes, and he's going to do something insane. And you put a spotlight on him, and you're like, fireside chat, whatever, 20 to 30 minutes, shows the workflow. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, I can do that. And then it also creates this, like, everybody wants status, right? Within the community or the organization that they're in, whatever you are, whatever that's in. And you can do this within your company where it's like, if you shine that on, somebody like an individual, and you're like, how you get status is you now like do work like this. And I do get the show and tell, right? It creates this flywheel of adoption within the organization that like is the most positive incentive that I've seen with this so far from the companies that are doing this. So, but yeah, happy to dive deeper on any of that. I know it's a ton of information and kind of a rabbit hole. But.
I'll just say share one observation, which is that I think what I would say is the go-to-market automations are relevant to an organization of any size. I think if you have a bigger organization and you have higher lead volume and lower consideration deals, which often those things go together, then you're going to have more end-to-end automation, right? Like you're going to be able to really like loose it. If you have a business like mine, you could still absolutely use it, but it just might be a little more human in the loop as opposed to like agent end-to-end. Like for example, I need to create, like you said, what do I do every day, right? I got to create LinkedIn content. I got to create X content. I have a weekly newsletter. I already use AI to help with those things, and I could probably go a lot further. I could probably have like an agent that's like every week it's sending me, here are 10 LinkedIn posts, right, on Monday morning. And then it's like, okay, you're going to edit them, schedule them.
Now use the API to go
exactly. And then it gets better over and over, and then you see how it's more
to the impression data. It's looking at the impression data. Content like this is performing better. Exactly. I don't have to go there. I want to cast a vision for you though, just to like for this out. I imagine how you do your sales process is like you get in deep relationship with a bunch with a bunch of people, and like podcasts are a great way to do this. This is why I have a podcast as well. It's like you're telling me that I can have 3,000 people show up every week and listen to me for an hour. Of course I'm going to do that, right? Like think about how by the time I'm even talking to them, there's so much trust that's built into it. And I imagine for anybody that's in, running a company like yours, that's a great, leverage point. Imagine you have an agent and it just starts like email, like relationships with all of your target customers with no intention of selling them. It's just talking to them about like, hey, what are your pain points? Like, what are the challenges you're seeing in your company? How are you thinking about these things? Hey, did you see this? What's your thoughts on this? Fiance and I were driving yesterday and we just started having this like realization of like, I could have an agent that's in conversation with 100,000 people, right? And it's just like talking to them and it's building a relationship with them. And then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, cool. I want to push something or I want to go in some direction. And it can just like, here's this, what's your thoughts? And it plants that idea, right? But you've already developed this relationship for months of emailing back and forth. And so we went in the political direction with it. We're like, holy shit. Like, you're trying to put a poll in the field and you like call people. No, it's like, I literally am in an email thread with Tom. And like, I've been talking to Tom for 13 months back and forth just about what's going on in his community, right? And then I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, this bill's about to go, whatever that looks like, right? Like, this is 100% going to happen. But when you think about that as an application of a company, like this is something that like I'm like actively building, like in the background as we speak. There's an agent that has been going through this task, since yesterday. And what I'm trying to think about is like, can I just like be talking to our target customers about like, what are the pain points and the problems that they're facing? And getting in that relationship. I'm not even trying to sell the product. I'm just trying to like get in relationship with them at scale. And these are the things that are like, used to be impossible, or it used to be like a one to many. And now it's like a one to like thousands, but it's 1 to 1. And it could be a persona. Like it can be like, here's like, the angles, like it just, again, all you're trying to do is just like collect information. I don't even know what this evolves into, but like that technology now exists. It's totally possible to do this. So
we had a pod last week, talked about like how we use AI. And there were two things that I think about from this conversation. Number one, Joe, I think you got to use Claude, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Cody?
Are we committing to Claude?
I think that it's the most best. Claude Code. So Claude Code is technically just an agent harness, right? So it's basically an agent harness. So when you think about an agent harness, it's basically like, here's a raw model, and then it lives within a harness that has all these tools that it can use, right? So like Graph technically is an agent harness. We have a model, and then it's like tools that it can use to like do analytics for you. The cohesiveness, it's crazy. I can't even use Claude, like their normal Claude, just like going raw to their model. Like if you go to like Claude.ai, like, their web chat and try to use it, I can't even use it. I get so frustrated with it because it's not even the same thing. For some reason, the harness with the model, it's created this magic, absolutely like beautiful thing. And I think when we think about like where this goes, like from a product standpoint, right? Again, this is just me as a founder thinking and like talking to friends about how they're thinking about it. But it's the agent harness is the product in the end. It's like, what are the tools behind the scenes that are doing all of these things? That's actually where the differentiation is going to occur, because it's really hard to duplicate that. Like you can have this magic happen and all the tools are in the background. And like if another company tried to come in and like mimic that or do the same thing, it's very hard for them to see. Like it creates this defensibility in a way. But I think that Claude, like also they're just like focusing on like, we are here for work. So it's like, we do work. Like this isn't, I just think about like ChatGPT or, OpenAI. And there are some movement here, right? Like I have friends that use Codex and they're religious about it, right? They're like, I don't touch Claude code. I use Codex because Codex functions more like I'm like an agent, like jockey is what I would describe it as. And it's like, okay, I have like a swarm of agents that are working on tasks and I'm just like kind of like managing them from like a single, I had a friend describe it as like, hey, if you played like, World of Warcraft or like one of these other games where you have like these sub characters that you're basically managing from your main, it's that same idea. And I think that's where this is like going to go. And like, this is how I actually probably use Claude Code when I think about it. It's like I have 5 to 10 terminals open that are on different desktops on my Mac. And I'm literally just like swiping back and forth between them, like managing them and giving them context as they need it. For me, like it's just become a part of my workflow to use Claude. I think the biggest thing is like, again, like when you have that local directory that just accumulates all of this knowledge about your business, about yourself, about your marketing process, about the challenges you're facing. Like as that context accumulates, it just gets smarter and smarter. In that agent harness is just getting better by the day. Like we'll feel like, I don't know, they'll ship something and it's like, oh my God, it's just like, it's a whole new product from day to day, basically. And that's how fast like this is moving. When you look at the Claude Code team too, the commits they're making, it's ridiculous. Like it is ridiculous how fast like you can ship product now.
So then the other thing was both of us were, interested in a future where we could automate a lot more of our work with agents. And we were talking about this as some undetermined time in the future. I think the future is tomorrow. And maybe the actionable next steps are to create that document repository on our Macs, connect it to Claude Code, connect it to the API keys for the things that we want to do, and then start to experiment. If I can just sort of succinctly summarize 100%. What you just said.
Yeah, I think it creates a very clear like vision of what an agent is, right? Like if we had this conversation 8 weeks ago, I'd be like, the agents are bullshit, right? Full stop. And now I'm agent pilled. I'm like, oh yeah, it's happening. It's totally happening. We're totally there. It's totally going, like this is 100%, like zero doubt. I'm an early adopter probably if you think about the curve. Like it's like, okay, when it like actually gets useful, then I'll start thinking about it. Like I don't understand like OpenClaw. I don't get it. And there's people that swear by it. I just haven't seen it. They're like, it's like an employee that has this. And I'm like, you can build that with like out all of the risk. It's just an agent that has like these tools that to go and access the internet. That's all you're really doing is you're like, go do a thing and here's these tools and it comes back and it messages you back, right? But when you think about an agent or how I think about it now, it's like, what is a job to be done that a human used to operate? And like, can the agent just do that? Like, again, just to use the Facebook ads example, make new creative, publish new creative, analyze what's working and what's not, turn off losers, promote winners, make more creative like that. And just do that in perpetuity. That's just an agent that's managing that. And what is an agent actually? It's just like access to the things that it needs, like the API keys, a system prompt that's like, your goal is X. I think about it as like you build a boundary for the agent too. Like what I found is when people are trying to be like, go do this, right? What's actually better is you're like, here are all the no's around the thing. Like, here's all the no's, like, here's all the things you shouldn't do. And what that does is it creates a boundary for yes, right? And then the agent can figure out, okay, like within that boundary of no's that you've made it, here's the best way that I can, build this thing basically. To deploy that agent, literally I'm in Claude Code. I'm like, cool, like we just built this software deployed onto Railway. Railway is like a Heroku, but it has a really robust API. So I can like spin up a server really easily. You can also spin up databases really easily. Like you spent the last 10 years of my career living out of Excel, right? And like now I'm like, cool, I just push all the data into a Postgres database. I'm like, God, we need to do this. Like, help me do this data analysis, right? Like, I will never do a pivot table again, based on like, how it's so easy now. And again, but that agent gets spun up onto Railway, and now it's just running that task. But the thing that's magic about it is like, as you like learn new things and as you work with it, you can just like modify the code that's running, that's managing that agent. It's this malleable employee that can like live and change as you get new information in. Like, okay, maybe the meta changes about like what Facebook ads are working, right? Like the underlying like arbitrage has adjusted. Like it used to be UGC ads, so we were using HeyGen avatars with 11 Labs voices, and that's what it was. But now statics are working really well right now, especially statics that have big text and are in this structure. You can in like a blink, like cool, here's a new tool. Go, here's these new statics. Let's go and do that test. Or it's like we change the conversion event that I want you to go after. It's like the agent can with Claude Code be modified so easily and personalized to the exact thing that you're thinking as an individual, right? Like I don't know if I'll need to hire growth employees, like full stop. I really don't know if it'll come to that. Like maybe at some point, like the only thing that I think we'll need is like good salespeople that go and hunt whales, right? That are like, and then we'll just feed them. Like I'll build a huge brand so everybody knows what it is. And then we will just feed them like the best leads that we possibly can for them to go and like to go after. Because there is that, people buy from people. I think that's a huge piece. Everybody's trying to do this like automated sales. It may, maybe it works for some stuff, but I just don't see. It's just it's a longer time horizon, right?
One of the ways I always articulate the value of marketing to B2B CEOs is basically your prospects who just feel like you're everywhere, right? Yes. Like they should be constantly running into you, name recognition, authority. They understand who you are. They think about whatever it is you do. Like for your business, it's AI go to market. They think about you, right? And I think you're laying out how AI helps you really like turbocharge your efforts to achieve that goal.
For the last 5 years of my life, I've been basically like preaching like owned media is the future. Owned media is everything. Like it's the only way that you fight Andrew Chen has a great book, Cold Start Problem. He talks about the laws, shitty click-throughs is what he calls it. It's basically like as a market, like there's an arbitrage that exists with clicks. Like as a market matures, more people come and compete in that market. And so the CPC increases over time. Only way to combat that is you have to invest in owned media that gives you organic reach in some capacity, right? So like Arupa, this is something that we did really early on. Just for context for the audience, we were a marketplace for specialty labs test and ordering. So we like aggregated all these labs into a single place, and then we would manage like the ordering of it, like the customer service of it, et cetera. When we initially started, we just turned on ads. And then we started to see more people come into it. And then we're like, cool, we need to build a live class and a podcast and build a massive email list and build a massive blog. And build you just layer on all of these growth curves. But the whole point of it is that makes it so that your customer acquisition cost stays flat as you know that the paid media is going to increase because you have more people competing. And I'm saying this from I am building an AI business intelligence software. This is literally the most competitive category in the world, right? Like there's Tableau, there's Power BI, there's Tableau. You could just go down a list of like, it's so funny. When we talked to VCs, they were like, it was visceral, like two sides of the spectrum of like, this is the dumbest thing that you could be building. Like it's not going to work because they've like seen so many dead bodies. And then there's this other side where it's like this, it's obvious that this is going to be like the thing. Like it's like the constraints have changed. And so now this product becomes like an entirely different.
Yeah, it's just a red ocean, but the way you win, to your point, is brand, right? And distribution.
Exactly.
And that's why
I own mental real estate. And so then what does that turn into? Like, if you're CEO listening to this, like map out where your customers are spending time. And I'm not talking about time digitally only. I'm talking about literally physical time. Where are they? Like I learned this when I was at this marketing agency working for my boss Jeff, who went to YC. He's like, it would market like doors and bathtubs and like wood paneling manufacturers, right? Like S&P 500 companies, never heard the name of it. They're just massive, right? And for one of those clients, they're like, we found that people at this gas station, like at gas stations in their geography that were selling like these farmers, it's like physical pamphlets outperformed every other marketing channel, like full stop. And we're like, cool. So let's just go and do that at every gas station. You just figure that out. And so when I say like map where they are and they're spending time, and then how do I create some type of media that feels normal to be there, that's educating, entertaining, finding some cross section between that. And then you just like, again, to your point, like I'm trying to own mental real estate within a category. So that when you think X, you think Y, which is my company. So,
and I think one of the things where Eric and I wanted to get out of this is for the dummies like me who aren't technical. It's like, all right, what is one part of your go-to-market you can start to automate with an agent? And like, I think, using me as an example for me, obviously super helpful. I think for others it will be as well. And it's like, okay, let's say you do LinkedIn content. It's like, all right, start there. It's like connect Claude Code to LinkedIn, see if it can learn what's performing and start creating content. And yeah, maybe you edit it, but over time you should have to edit it less. And I think
also
for everyone,
that's a repository of your best performing content that you just remix over and over again. And I use this thing, it's called the snowball technique. It's like, cool, here's the best performers. Like now, like look at it from a different angle. Like, is there a different way that I should be thinking about? Like you just like take that further down, like that rabbit hole. That type of content, that format has already worked. You're just basically like having it go, it's remixing it, right? It's like, it's that whole idea of everything's a remix. On the LinkedIn side, I just brained up like what's possible, because this is my exact playbook, right? So we make content and it's like, here's an outcome that you want. I made a Notion document for you that's going to teach you how to get this outcome. Here's the 7 things that you're going to learn. It's like a list. Comment X to get the Notion document. People comment, they like. That creates this viral loop on the LinkedIn post. Like I've done, I think it's in the last 30 days, it's like 500,000 impressions on LinkedIn. The average CPM on LinkedIn is about $23. So per 1,000 impressions, like we can just do that math live right now. So 500,000 divided by 1,000. So that's 5,000 times $23. So I've gotten $115,000 of free reach on LinkedIn based off of their average CPM by doing this strategy. So they comment. I then have an agent that goes and sends them, hey, you can get it here. Like it literally comments back, which creates another like viral reach of the post. This is Claude Code using browser use, which is a Chrome extension, and it's going through and I built a skill that's like, comment this back when they comment the keyword. It goes and responds to 300 messages. That turns into email leads. It's like literally email gated to get the asset. I get their email. I can go and cold email them. I also take everybody that has engaged with that LinkedIn post. I use a tool called Phantom Buster. I extract all of those engagers. I get their LinkedIn profiles. Those LinkedIn profiles, we then go enrich those with Apollo, validate the emails with Million Verifier. They get put into an Instantly campaign and it starts cold emailing them. And that's that whole stack. And it just like that system just runs. It just exists, right? And like you can take this as far as you want. Like, and this is again, what we were talking about, like the unbounding, like yourself is the hardest part of this, of like, how far can I take this? Because before it's like, oh, I'd have to have a VA doing this and I'd have to be doing this. And the management layers are so deep. And now it's like, literally, I'm just co-working with Claude Code, or I'm automating on this as much as I can. And in the background, like all of these like go-to-market motions are now just happening. As an example, like we're growing, I think, well, like for where we're at as a company. I mean, we just turned on free trials again at like 2 weeks ago, and like the first ones are just starting to hit, and the data looks awesome. I'm super excited about it. All of our acquisition has been organic. The only ads I'm running is remarketing ads, and the amount of content, like I'm publishing probably 500 pieces of content a month, right? This is not where this is going to get to, because like I'm already imagining like, oh, like I can make these personas that maybe it's an Instagram account and it's like a day in the life of a corporate girly, right? And it's a 6-slide show and it's just nano banana images. And then my product is included within that. That automatically gets created, it gets scheduled, it gets analyzed, and then it's just running as an agent in the background. Okay, I spin that up to 10 different accounts. But just imagine that across all of the different channels that you're doing distribution to. Why can't that be podcasts? Why can't that be email newsletters within specific niche categories? Like you do digital marketing for automotive shops, right? Or whatever that we find within our data of the companies that are like adopting us as a product. You can just go and make media and have these agents running that media for you in those categories. And I think that, again, to get back to it, the unbounding is the hardest part. It's like anything is possible now. It's like you have to like have good ideas. All of the middle work can be solved. Like having good ideas is the hardest part. The middle work can be solved, and then the polish is like people call it taste, whatever you want to call it. Like those are the only things you're focusing on is ideas and polish. Everything else in the middle, it's like, how do I get an agent to do it? How do I get an agent to do it? How do I get an agent to do it? So,
I mean, I think that's a pretty galvanizing note to end on, and for our listeners to go off and work on. Do you agree, Eric?
Amazing. Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.
I'm speechless. This is like the most mind-opening pod that we've had in a long time, Cody. So thank you very much. We'll see.
Thanks for hosting me. I super appreciate it. Again, like I'm super thankful. Yeah, I'll love coming back on these as well. So if you want to have me back in like 6 months and be like, what's the state of the union? What's changed? Happy to come on. It's moving so fast now that it's like, I think about where we were 6 months ago, and I'm like, literally.
In 6 months, Cody's going to be like, I'm so sorry, but there's no longer any marginal utilities to me coming on the pod. I'll just be sending Claude
Hold on. It's so funny. I'm doing a show with another podcast host. We're doing a one-to-one, us talking. And then we're taking that transcript and we're doing like 2 avatars talking about the transcript because his show is normally like avatars. And so then it's like, they're going to basically like go deeper based off of the main insights from the show. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just like, it just turtles all the way down of derivative content that you can pull out from this when you have this. And it's like, we're going to give it personas of like, this is who like Cody is and this is who the host is. And it's like the avatar combo is going to have that conversation. And like, I just, again, it's one of those moments where it's hard to think about like what you can do because there's so much that you can. And I think about this with product. Like last thought for anybody that's listening is like everybody can make like the cost of code has gone basically to zero. And an example of this that's like really really discreet. I talked to a PM friend. They had a big company. I'm like, are people using this AI tooling like PMs that are like at your org like using this? Absolutely. I'm like, cool. They're building prototypes. Or what are they building? They're building features and they're trying to get them merged. And I'm like, is it things that people want? He's like, absolutely not. But they now have no constraints on what they can build. And so because of that, it's like opened up to like, I can build anything. But then this is the hardest part always is like, what do I build that people actually want to buy? Like, what is actually a business? And I think that it's funny. I was talking to an e-com friend and he was telling me like, I think e-com is actually more well positioned for this because there's physical constraints on like what they can build. Whereas like code, it's like I can do anything. And so it creates like this, like almost a decision fatigue of like, what is the right thing to be building? Whereas e-com, it's like, does the market want to buy this product? Okay, I'd make that product and I sell that to them, right? So anyways, just to zoom back, it's like, start playing with it. You're going to really quickly see, here's what's possible. I'm doing a whole series on this too. It's gtmengineeringcourse.com. I'm just like literally everything we learn and see, I'm just turning it into a tutorial video and just giving it away for free. It's just sponsored by Graft. We just want you to go and do it. So yeah, that's there as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions too. I'm really active on LinkedIn and Twitter. So anyways.
Yeah, before we go, where should people find you?
Twitter and LinkedIn are the best 2 places. You can email me at cody@graft.com as well.
And Cody Schneider on those platforms?
Yeah, Cody Schneider. If you just Google me, it should come up. I'll send you the links and we can add it to the show notes as well. If you Google me and it doesn't come up, I'm doing my job really terribly. But those are kind of the 2 places where I'm just documenting everything that we're seeing happen like in real time. And then the company's graph.com if you're trying to give any idea to analysts to your growth team so that they're unbounded on what they can do from a data-driven, like go-to-market motion. We are awesome to support you on that. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Cody. This was amazing. Take care.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Pleasure.